That image is seared into the memory of every basketball fan. A slightly built, almost wiry, Caitlin Clark taking the WNBA by storm, with logo threes and passes that defied physics. She was a phenomenon, a rookie rewriting the rules of the game, with pure skill and flair. But then, the 2025 preseason hit, and a new picture started making the rounds. This wasn't the same player we saw last year. Her frame, once described as slender, now looked powerful, chiseled, and undeniably stronger. The change was so stark it had everyone doing a double-take. Her transformation became the talk of the league, a viral moment that sparked endless debate and speculation. But this was way more than just a new look or a successful off-season in the weight room. This was a calculated response, a strategic evolution born from necessity. The story behind how and why Caitlin Clark rebuilt her body is the story of her survival in the world's most elite basketball league. This wasn't about aesthetics, it was about building armor. So, what's the real story behind her journey from a dazzling rookie to a physical powerhouse? It's a wild ride of brutal physicality, obsessive dedication, and a quiet, relentless war waged in the gym when no one was watching. To understand the transformation, you have to understand the problem. And the problem, for all of Caitlin Clark's otherworldly talent, was painfully obvious during her rookie season in 2024. She landed in the WNBA as the most hyped prospect in a generation, a player who had single-handedly lifted women's college basketball to new heights. Her offensive arsenal was legendary. The limitless range, the uncanny court vision, the sheer audacity of her playmaking, it was all there. From day one, her official rookie stat line was brilliant for a first-year player leading a franchise. Around 19.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, and a stunning 8.4 assists per game. She was instantly one of the most productive guards in the entire league, and even led the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016. But statistics only tell part of the story. The other part was written in bruises. Remember those games, where she'd get off to a hot start, only to seem to fade in the fourth quarter? That wasn't a lack of conditioning. It was the cumulative effect of a strategy used by nearly every team she faced. Raw, unrelenting physicality. From the moment she stepped on a WNBA court, there was a target on her back. Opponents knew that if you couldn't stop her shot, you had to stop her body. It was bully ball, and Clark was its primary victim. Night after night, the game plan was the same. Get physical, bump her off her spots, hand-check her up the court, fight over screens with a ferocity that bordered on reckless, foul her hard, don't let her get into a rhythm. It was a welcome to the league ritual that played out in sold-out arenas across the country. We saw her get knocked to the floor on hard screens, get shoved around in the paint, and absorb contact that would wear down even a seasoned veteran. There was a palpable sense among opponents that this phenom, for all her skill, had a physical vulnerability. Her relatively slender frame, which was never an issue in college, was now being tested against grown women, the strongest athletes on the planet, and they made it a point to test it, constantly. The message was clear: your logo threes are great, but can you handle this for 40 minutes, for a full season and into the playoffs? The physical toll was visible, especially when the Fever were swept in the first round by a tough Connecticut Sun team. There were games where Clark looked exhausted by the fourth quarter, not from running, but from the constant battle. The bumps, the grabs, the shoves, they add up. They drain your legs, which messes with your jump shot. They create fatigue, which leads to turnovers. It was death by 1,000 cuts, a strategy designed to neutralize her transcendent talent by attacking her physical endurance. For fans, it was frustrating. For the Indiana Fever, it was a glaring issue. And for Caitlin Clark, it was a brutal education in pro basketball. She learned fast that in the WNBA, talent alone isn't enough. You have to be able to withstand the storm. And heading into her first real offseason, she had a choice: keep weathering the abuse, or build a body that could fight back. The 2024 season was a whirlwind. As Clark herself later reflected, there was just so much coming at her, moving to a new city, living out of a hotel, figuring out new teammates and coaches, all while playing an insane schedule. But in that chaos, a crucial understanding was forged. She said the experience taught her a lot about basketball and about being resilient. That resilience became the foundation of her off-season. This wasn't a break, it was a mission. The turning point wasn't one single moment, but a dawning realization over 40-plus games of physical punishment. The mandate for her first true professional off-season was simple and absolute: get stronger. Clark didn't mince words. When she arrived for the 2025 training camp looking visibly more powerful, she made her intentions clear. That was my biggest focus this off-season, just trying to get stronger and really working on that, she told reporters. This wasn't a suggestion from coaches or a response to media hot takes. This was her decision, a strategic move for her own longevity and effectiveness. The new head coach for the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, who took over after the 2024 season, immediately saw the change and the motive behind it. White, who had coached against Clark with the Connecticut Sun, knew exactly how opposing teams tried to neutralize her. Speaking on the transformation, White praised Clark's sharp self-awareness, noting she figured out right away, "I need to get stronger. I can't get knocked around as much." This is what separates the good from the great. It's one thing to have a weakness. It's another to identify it, own it, and obsessively work to turn it into a strength. Clark's dedication became legendary within the Fever organization. Her work ethic, already famous, hit a new gear. Staff marveled at her commitment. Even after public appearances or sponsored trips, she was almost always back in the gym at Gainbridge Fieldhouse by 8 a.m. the next morning. Even on vacation, she was in constant touch with the Fever's athletic performance coach, Sarah Kessler, making sure she stuck to the plan. This wasn't a casual endeavor. It was a systematic, scientific approach to rebuilding her body. Clark worked tirelessly with Kessler, the architect of her physical overhaul. The goal wasn't just to add weight or look muscular. It was to build functional, durable, basketball-specific strength. It was to create a body that could not only absorb the contact she faced as a rookie, but could start dishing it out. The turning point was mental. It was the decision that she would no longer be a passenger to the league's physicality. She would get in the driver's seat. The viral photos came later, but the real transformation happened in those quiet, early morning hours in the gym. Fueled by a singular mandate: get stronger or risk getting run out of the league. You were destined to dominate. So how'd she do it? How does an athlete fundamentally remake their physical presence in a single off-season? It's a fascinating mix of modern sports science, old-school hard work, and a maniacal focus on a single goal. This was an engineering project. First things first, this was not a bodybuilding program. The goal wasn't just to pack on muscle. For a player like Clark, whose game is built on speed, agility, and a fluid jumper, random bulk would be a disaster. The program, designed by Athletic Performance coach Sarah Kessler, was all about functional strength. It was about creating a more powerful engine without messing up the high-performance CHASSISA. Key principle they reportedly used was time under tension. This is a training philosophy that focuses on slowing down exercises to increase the time a muscle is under strain. Instead of just banging out reps, you control the movement, both on the way up and the way down. This method is incredibly effective for forging denser, more resilient muscle fibers, which is exactly what an athlete needs to survive a long, grueling season. Another major focus was improving her low center of gravity. In basketball, that's your source of power and stability. It's what lets you hold your ground, explode past a defender, and stay balanced through contact. In her rookie year, Clark could be knocked off balance. The off-season was about building a rock-solid foundation through heavy lower body lifts like squats and deadlifts, plus a ton of core stability work. A strong core is the armor that protects you from the torque of high-speed movements. The program was targeted. They identified specific weaknesses and attacked them. For instance, reports said Clark worked heavily on single-arm exercises. Why? Because she was sometimes too weak to make certain passes or finish through contact with just one arm. By building that unilateral strength, she was making herself more effective in those chaotic moments around the rim. She even incorporated well-researched supplements like creatine to maximize her gains. Every piece of her training was deliberate, reportedly resulting in a gain of 5 to 7 pounds of lean muscle. That might not sound like a huge number, but for an elite athlete, it's a game changer. It's the difference between getting knocked back on a screen and holding your ground. It's the difference between a layup getting blocked and an and one. The public didn't know about the science. All they saw were the pictures, and the reaction was immediate and explosive. As images from the Fever's 2025 preseason media day hit the internet, social media went into a frenzy. The most notable change was in her arms and upper body. Photos of her flexing in a jersey showcased a level of muscle definition that was jarringly different from the player everyone remembered. The internet did its thing. Memes were everywhere. Fans and analysts were stunned. One photographer, Brie Lewerke, captured a photo that went especially viral, captioning it simply, "While someone's been in the weight room." The comments told the whole story. "They won't be pushing her around next year," one fan wrote. Another added, "Her bully count for next season just dropped by 40%. There were playful remarks about her having tickets to the gun show and comparisons to Michael Jordan, who famously bulked up to overcome the bad boy Detroit Pistons. The transformation was so significant that Clark herself addressed it, confirming the viral photos were the result of her off-season goal. "I'm trying to get stronger, like a lot of time in the weight room," she said, giving a shout-out to her trainer. "Really thankful for Sarah, our strength and conditioning coach. She's put in a lot of time with me." This viral moment was more than a fleeting trend. It was visual proof of the narrative. It was a warning shot to the rest of the WNBA. The old game plan against Caitlin Clark was officially obsolete, but the physical transformation was only half the battle. Getting stronger was the what. Why she did it was to unlock the next level of her skill. The added muscle was just a tool. And this off-season was also about sharpening every other weapon in her arsenal. The added strength allowed her to work on parts of her game that were tougher before. She worked with the Fever's new player development coach on fine-tuning her footwork and adding new scoring dimensions, like a floater. When you drive into a lane swarming with bigs, a floater is a crucial weapon to get a soft shot up over the top. It requires incredible touch, but also the strength to stay balanced while getting challenged. Her new physique made that shot far more viable. Of course, she never neglected her signature weapon. Her shooting routine remained obsessive. At least 300 shots a day, 100 threes, 100 mid-range, and 100 free throws. The difference now, the strength in her legs and core provided a more stable platform for that famous quick release, even when she was tired. But maybe the most telling detail of her off-season wasn't physical at all. When Stephanie White was hired, Clark made a remarkable request. She asked to see the scouting report that White's former team, the Connecticut Sun, had used against her the previous season. Think about that. She wanted to see herself through her opponent's eyes. She wanted to know every perceived weakness they tried to exploit, so she could systematically erase it. That's the true nature of her transformation. It was holistic. The weights, the drills, the film study, it was all connected. She was building a new body not for show, but to house an even more lethal basketball mind. The problem was physicality. The transformation was the solution. When the 2025 season kicked off, the payoff was immediate. This was Caitlin Clark 2.0, engineered to dominate in a way she couldn't as a rookie. The most obvious change was her ability to handle the pressure that wore her down the year before. The bumps that used to send her careening off her path now glanced off a more solid frame. The screens she used to get stuck on, she now fought through. She was no longer just absorbing physicality. She was initiating it. On her drives, she could create space with her body, absorb contact, and still have the core strength to finish the play. Her new coach, Stephanie White, who once game-planned to disrupt Clark, now marveled at the results. "She's done a great job of getting in the weight room and focusing on her strength," White confirmed, noting it would help her cut down on turnovers and be more efficient. And that's exactly what happened. She was more effective everywhere. She was a better defender, a better rebounder. But the biggest difference was on offense. Since opponents couldn't just shove her around anymore, they had to respect her drive. And that, in turn, created even more space for her legendary three-point shot. It was a classic pick-your-poison dilemma, made deadlier by her physical upgrade. She talked about how the strength would help her on both ends, but mentioned one key benefit. "Hopefully it helps me not get as tired throughout games." This was critical. The physical toll of her rookie season often saw her fade in the final minutes. In 2025, she looked stronger in the fourth quarter. A terrifying thought for the rest of the league. You could see it just by watching her. There was a new confidence, a new command. She carried herself differently. She had faced the league's primary equation for stopping her and solved it. The transformation was complete. Caitlin Clark had successfully evolved from a rookie phenom into a bona fide physical force. The narrative seemed perfect. A star identifies a weakness, forges an unbreakable physique, and returns as an unstoppable force. It's the classic hero's journey, but in the real world of pro sports, the story is never that simple. Pushing the human body to its limits, even with the best intentions, can have a cost. For Caitlin Clark, her triumphant return was soon complicated by a frustrating hurdle: injuries. After being a model of durability her entire career, never missing a single game in college or her rookie WNBA season, 2025 introduced a new challenge. The body that had been so carefully rebuilt began to show signs of strain. It started with quad tightness that sidelined her for a preseason game, a sign of things to come. Later, a more significant quad strain knocked her out for 5 games. No sooner had she returned than a left groin strain cost her another 4. These weren't catastrophic injuries, but a series of nagging, soft issues. For a player who lives and breathes basketball, watching from the sidelines was a new kind of torment. The cruelest twist came in mid-July, with the WNBA All-Star Game in her home city of Indianapolis. An event celebrating her impact on the sport disaster struck. In the final minute of a game, she went down with a right groin injury. The image was heartbreaking. She walked gingerly down the court, banged her head against the basket stanchion in frustration, and sat on the bench with a towel over her head, visibly emotional. The injury forced her to pull out of all All-Star festivities, where she was slated to be a team captain after leading the league in votes. In a statement, she expressed her deep disappointment. "I am incredibly sad and disappointed. I have to rest my body." For the first time, her body was betraying her. The string of muscle injuries led to a tough question. Was there a connection between her rapid physical transformation and these new durability issues? Did adding so much muscle so quickly put an unfamiliar strain on everything else? It's a question without a clear answer. The WNBA season is a grind no matter what, but the correlation was hard to ignore. It added a complex layer to her story. The very armor she built to make her more resilient seemed to be making her more fragile. Clark admitted the mental toll it was taking. "It's been challenging mentally. Just staying in it," she said after one return. The complication was a stark reminder that in sports, there are no easy solutions. Clark had built her armor, but now she had to learn how to maintain it. This raises a fascinating debate. What do you think? Was the rapid muscle gain a factor in her injuries, a case of too much, too soon? Or is this just the brutal, random nature of pro sports? Let us know your take in the comments. Caitlin Clark's journey into her second season is more than a story about getting bigger. It's a compelling narrative about adaptation, survival, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Under the brightest spotlights, she began as a phenom met with a league-wide strategy of physical intimidation. She faced a choice that defines pro careers: adapt or be neutralized. Her response was a testament to her intelligence and her now legendary work ethic. She didn't just accept the challenge, she dissected it. The transformation was a strategic re-engineering of her body, designed to counteract the bully ball tactics. Every hour in the weight room, every drill, every gram of muscle was a deliberate move in a chess match against the entire league. The payoff was obvious, but as the unforeseen hurdle of injuries showed, the path to dominance is never a straight line. It's a raw, realistic depiction of the fight to stay at the top. What this whole saga ultimately reveals is the core of who Caitlin Clark is. She isn't an athlete who rests on her talent. She's a competitor who identifies a problem, researches the solution, and dedicates every fiber of her being to fixing it. The physical change is the most visible proof, but it's the mindset behind it that will define her career. She has proven she's willing to do whatever it takes to win and evolve. The league saw the warning, and now they've seen the proof. The transformation had us all doing a double take, but for Caitlin Clark, it was just the next necessary step. If you want to follow Caitlin Clark's incredible journey and see how she continues to adapt and evolve, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust us, you won't want to miss what comes next.